could have ever known that God was this wise, except we have lived to understand the awesomeness of who we are serving. I mean, he's not outdated. His thoughts are not malfunctioned. We haven't run into a senile God. He is timely in every perspective of his word. His foretelling is quite precise. He's made no error in prophecy. He is absolutely right on. He's made no error. He has not made a mistake. He's not a bumbling idiot. He is older than time itself. Could you imagine the magnitude of this kind of God that we serve? Have you understood that our God is beyond our vocabulary? We are absolutely lost for words. I mean, he is mentally breathtaking. When you think about God, he has a tendency to allow your mind to just hang in abeyance. You don't know what to think about him because he's beyond the fathoming of your thoughts, so you just end up being awed in wonder. Have you ever understood the magnitude, or even in our little infinitesimal minds, to try to fathom out a little about God? Can you imagine someone who does not have a body but is eternal and timeless? Time is nothing more than a cylinder that's locked in eternality. Just a little space that has Alpha and Omega written on it. And everything in between is generation after generation. And that's where we get the chronicler telling us, and he begot, and he begot, and he begot. But God stands inside time, yet regulating time. Time is not a governor of God, but God created time as his master. He utilizes time for us so that we can understand when we were born and when we shall die, so that we can remember birthdays and celebrations, so that we could call to remembrance. God doesn't need a clock. God doesn't need a Timex to keep on ticking. God doesn't even need a calendar of events. Can you just imagine someone that has the mind power enough to remember everybody that was ever created? Can you imagine someone that doesn't need a computer and then keep updating the computer so that he can keep track of his world? No, he doesn't move from chronoseconds to milliseconds. God is just God. The fathoming of the thinking mind of God befuddles us because he knows the ant by name and the blade of grass that just perished, and he understands the beast that moves through the waters, and he knows everyone who's entered into the grave. And he's so meticulous until he knows the number of each hair upon everyone's head. Can you imagine, with just 5 billion people in this generation on this earthly planet at this particular span of time, that God knows each and every one by name and knows how many hairs it's on your head, what your death appointment is going to be, how you will enter into that death appointment, what is your birthday, your height, weight, shape, and color. Can you imagine a God that understands everything there is to understand about you? Just not the physical loss, but God knows your emotional problems. He knows what daddy did that he should not have done, or what mama didn't did not intend to do that left you spiritually and emotionally wounded. He knows who first broke your heart. He knows the first person you fell in love with and fell out of love with. He knows the infatuation. He knows the first friend you got and the first enemy that stabbed you in your back. He caught your tears in a bottle. He was there. He was there to comfort you every turn of your life. He knows when you stumbled and when you made a mess of things. He knows when you felt like, my God, am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to achieve? God knows every inside thought, every quiet fear, every looming storm. He knows every trip. He knows every back thing in the dark, in the deepest secrets of your heart. He's been in the skeleton closet. He's dug into your secret places. There is not anything you know about yourself that God didn't know before you knew what you knew about yourself. Come on and shout hallelujah. With that kind of a God, you don't have to worry. Am I before someone that doesn't understand me or doesn't know me or is not in touch with me? The mightiness of our God who is running all things, and at the same time nothing is running or in charge of him. Isn't it unique that this God created absolutely everything? Everything you can imagine has been created by God. The sun and the moon that we can't even touch, and the sun that we get such great favors from. Can you imagine God made that ball of fire? If you move close to the sun, science will share with you that it is not a perfect sphere. It just looks that way from a distance. How does he do that? It's not trick photography. How does he get something that is not a complete circle to look like a circle? How does God do what he does? And how does he get a moon to shine brilliantly when it doesn't even have its own light? It's borrowing light from the sun. How does he get an earth to turn in the middle of atmosphere and not tilt or fall out of the way? How does he do that? How does he have those that are in Australia that would be straight down, we call that down, walking really on their hands and feet? Look here. If we look straight down the center of the earth, we'd see people's feet, and they would see our feet, but ain't nobody drifting off of the planet. How does he do that? How can a God take oceans and the oceans don't fall off the planet? How does he do that? Just stick a core right down in the center of it and call it gravity and make it hold oceans. But why does it hold oceans and don't pull down clouds? How does he know how much gravity to hold the ocean in place but not strong enough to pull the clouds out of heaven? Hey, what kind of God is this? Somebody said he's an awesome God. Shout hallelujah! Shout hallelujah! My sisters and brothers, what kind of God is this? No wonder we bow down to him, and no wonder we lay prostrate. No wonder we call him Abba Father. No wonder we tell him, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. How is it that he sits and is at no point ever lost with his creation? how is it that God moves? Is there anything that such word as God moves? We use those terminologies because we're trying to keep up with God, but God really doesn't move. Everywhere he is, he just is. He's there before you get there. It's you that's doing the moving. When you get there, he's already been there. And he's not going to leave where he was. Somebody shout, help us, Lord. Our God is an awesome God. Can God walk? God doesn't walk, darling. God is there. He's just there. That's called omni. That's called presence and never absence. But then God can be present and make you feel he's absent. He doesn't go nowhere, child. He just don't feel like talking. Don't want to bless and don't want to do what he wants to do. There you can't make it. He can be here and you make it feel like he's not here. You can be weeping and crying and make you feel like God won't answer you. I want you to know that our God is everywhere. That's why Einstein called him the unmoved mover, in control of everything, unmoved, stationary in his godness, in everything and not absent from anything, moving all things while he himself is not moved, controlling everything that's going on, but nobody's controlling him. He said, I swear by my own self, there is no God before me, there is no God behind me. Who will be my counselor? No, they're not big enough or bad enough to counsel me.